The waves off Newport Bay were calm that morning, a glassy stretch of silver that caught the first blush of sunrise. But calm doesn't mean safe, not when men like Officer Grant Burke walk the sand with a badge on his chest and hate in his eyes. He spotted Selena Carter, 38, black, quiet, and more at home with her rescue dog than with the wealthy families who staked their claim on that private beach. "What's a woman like you doing here?" Burke sneered, boots grinding into the sand. Selena didn't answer right away. She just tightened her grip on the leash of Duke, her old German shepherd, with more scars than fur. Duke barked once low and warning. That's when Burke spat on the ground and pulled a length of rope from his cruiser. "You don't belong," he said, teeth flashing like a man who already believed he'd get away with whatever came next. Before she could move, he shoved her, hard-bound her wrists, and dragged her toward a buoy bobbing just off the pier. Duke lunged, teeth catching Burke's sleeve. The cop cursed, pulled his sidearm, and fired. The crack echoed against the empty houses. Duke yelped once and fell silent. Selena screamed, fighting with everything she had, but he tied her to that buoy and shoved her into the freezing water. Burke leaned close, his voice a poison whisper. "Let's see how long you last." What he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Selena Carter wasn't just another woman walking a beach she wasn't supposed to. She was the daughter of a Navy engineer, a woman who had learned more about signals and survival than most sailors twice her age. And just before the water closed over her, she pressed a hidden button on her smartwatch, a signal only one kind of ship could recognize. The Atlantic swallowed her screams, salt rushing into her lungs, but in the distance, a low, rolling thunder, the kind that makes every bully's blood run cold. A Navy destroyer cut through the horizon gray steel against the pale sky, moving fast, too fast to be coincidence. Burke stood on the sand arms crossed, smirking, until the wail of sirens echoed over the waves and the destroyer's spotlights carved through the morning haze. Selena, choking but alive, saw those lights and felt something stir in her chest, anger, grief, and the kind of resolve that doesn't break even when the ocean tries to claim you. She was pulled from the water by sailors in dark uniforms, her lips blue, her body trembling. "You're safe, ma'am," one said, but Selena's voice was hoarse steel. "No, not yet," because Duke was gone. Because too many women like her had vanished without a sound, their stories buried under police reports that never made the news. By the time her feet hit the deck of that destroyer, she wasn't just a survivor. She was a witness, and she was ready to make the world listen. Word spread fast, first whispers, then headlines. A cop tying a black woman to a buoy, a dead dog. Evidence of corruption running through the Newport Sheriff's Department like rot in the beams of an old house. Reporters flooded the docks. Burke tried to act untouchable. He smirked when cameras shoved in his face. "She made it up," he insisted. Another agitator trying to smear good cops. But the problem with men like Burke is they always talk too loud, always assume no one's listening. And this time, someone had been. Inside the police station, younger officers huddled over leaked footage from Selena's watch. The gunshot, the struggle, Burke's voice dripping venom. One rookie whispered, "That's murder." Another muttered, "We joked he was crazy, but this is the end, Sheriff Dalton." Big red-faced, a man who'd ruled Newport for 2 decades, slammed his door and barked orders. "Burn the tapes, wipe the drives. If the feds come sniffing, you saw nothing." His deputy nodded, but his hands shook. Everyone in that hallway knew the tide was turning. That night, Selena stood on the destroyer's deck, voice carried across the comms to every sailor within earshot. "Tonight, you're not just soldiers, you're witnesses. We fight for every woman silenced, every child ignored, every voice the system tried to bury, and we will not be quiet." It lit something in those men, in the city too. Protesters gathered holding signs, "Justice for Duke," "Justice for Selena," "Justice for the missing." Dalton tried to play it cool, telling reporters his department had always had the best interests of Newport at heart. But when confronted about the delay in searching for Selena, about the missing women's belongings found at the marina, about the video of Burke shooting an unarmed dog, his smile cracked. Behind the scenes, Dalton begged Burke and the others to get rid of everything. But it was too late. Federal agents showed up with warrants, evidence already auto-uploaded from Selena's watch. Blood matched, DNA matched, and the city's dirtiest secrets started bleeding out. Inside the station, honest cops whispered, "Enough is enough." One sergeant typed a statement, voice trembling. If this department won't stand for the law, I will. By dawn, FBI vans and military Humvees circled Newport's shoreline warehouses. Rumors swirled of women held there of files linking Dalton and Burke to a trafficking ring that reached further than anyone dared admit. Selena, bruised but unbroken, strapped on a vest and went with them. They breached the doors with flashbangs and shouts, and in a back room under a tarp they found Clara Reyes, raw wrists, eyes wide but alive. Selena dropped to her knees beside her. "You're safe now." They were wrong. Someone did come. Clara whispered, "They told us you were dead." Selena's jaw clenched. They lied. That night, boxes of evidence piled higher than excuses, phones, purses, ledgers, blood-stained mattresses. Every piece linked back to Burke and Dalton. Their fingerprints were everywhere. When the news broke, Dalton snapped at Burke in his office. "You said she was gone." Burke's face was pale, sweat dripping. "Nobody survives that current." "Well, she did," Dalton growled, "and now the Navy's crawling all over us." But the walls were closing in. Even their allies in City Hall stopped taking calls. Reporters hammered them with questions. Survivors spoke to cameras, voices shaking but proud. "We are not invisible anymore." The final showdown came at the Marina, rain pouring, floodlights cutting the dark. Dalton and Burke tried to bolt in a battered SUV. Tires screamed, barricades shattered, but the National Guard closed in. Selena's voice boomed over loudspeakers. "Grant Burke, Dalton Hayes, you're surrounded. Step out now, or answer for every life you destroyed." For a moment, nothing moved but the storm. Then Burke stumbled out, sobbing, hands high. "Don't shoot, I'll talk." Dalton stayed inside, gun limp in his hands. At last, he stepped into the rain, eyes hollow. "I never thought it'd end like this." Selena's reply was a blade. "It always ends. Justice finds everyone." And with cameras flashing, they were cuffed and led away. The trial was national news. Survivors testified. Clara told the court, "They said no one would believe me. But look, we're here, and they're the ones in chains." Selena herself took the stand, recounting every detail, her voice never breaking. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on all counts. Burke and Dalton sentenced to life. No parole, no shadows left to hide in. But the story didn't end there. Newport still carried its scars. Selena didn't retreat to Washington or vanish behind headlines. She stayed. She built a fund in Duke's honor, a playground, scholarships, free programs for kids who'd lost more than they ever should. She and Clara ran support circles where survivors reminded each other, "We are not what was done to us. We are what we choose next." Some nights threats still came, hate mail, whispers that she'd gone too far. But Selena kept showing up, sleeves rolled up, shoulders squared. And slowly neighbors began to trust again. Children laughed in the playground named for Duke. Parents walked the beach without fear. One evening, a grandmother pressed Selena's hand. "You brought my granddaughter home," she said. "You brought us all home." Selena smiled, tired but proud. "This city belongs to you now. Don't let anyone make you small again." And yet questions linger. The trial exposed two men, but how deep did the rot really go? How many others still sit in uniforms, hiding in plain sight? That's the part that sparks debate every time Selena's story is told. Some folks say justice was finally served. Others whisper that the system only gave up what it couldn't hide anymore. What about you? Do you believe true justice was done, or was it only the beginning of a longer fight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you've seen, what you've lived, where you've watched power try to bury the truth. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because stories like Selena's prove the fight isn't over. It's only just begun.